Tasomachi, and I really hope I'm pronouncing that right, is a new indie game on the PS4 and PS5.
Hey, before you so confidently make that claim, do you maybe want to Google it and double check that it's new? I know you'd be super annoyed if you got to the end of the year and you liked this one and wanted it in your top 5, then found out it was released elsewhere before 2022.
That is a good point, bear with me. Fuck's sake. Tasomachi Behind the Twilight is a game which follows a girl named Yukumo who is on a journey to a distant town when the airship she is in encounters a problem in the form of fog and she winds up crashing.
Wait, you're not rambling incoherently before getting into this?
We find ourselves in a strange town covered in the fog and a small cat creature comes to us and tells us he knows a way to mend our ship.
Okay, guess not.
The ship can be repaired by gathering these magical fruits that look like lanterns that have been scattered around 3 maps. Though each of the maps are covered in this strange phenomenon called the Twilight Fog, which is corrupting everything in some vague and, to my recollection, undefined way. The worst it seems to really be doing, though, is just making the towns a bit gloomy. We can fix this, though, by entering several shrines and completing a series of typical video game puzzles, and then by assailing a temple in our mended airship, shooting down random lanterns with fireworks.
Wow, you sound more dispassionate than you did about Sword Art Online last week. Usually you do an opening bit.
I know, but the opening bit does need to be in some way connected to the review as a whole, even if it's just something that I can easily segue from to get to the point of what I want to talk about. But I don't really have anything interesting this time to say.
Yeah, because that makes a difference.
Oh right, because you're in a position to judge whether or not someone has anything worth saying or doing.
He who lives in glass houses PS5s should avoid shitting up the walls.
Bitch, can you get a single phrase right? It drives me nuts.
Oh, cry me a table.
Stop it!
Let me explain Tasomachi the best I can. The game is based around finding collectible items, these being the random MacGuffins you need to repair your airship. They're not all hidden, at most they're just a reward for completing basic tasks. It's quite easy to spot the ones that are in the map because they're big, glowing, and they're big and glowing, it's really hard to miss them. And it really won't take you that long to acquire the ones you need in order to finish the game. In total, you will need 150 of these things. There are a lot more of 150 of these things though, so it's not really hard to reach this total. I managed to collect about 30 within 15 minutes of bumming around one of the levels, but I fear I'm getting ahead of myself. Although I do want to quickly insert this, happy Pride Month to all my Wovly viewers. Wovly viewers? Yeah, you're my Wovly viewers. Let's say it all cute like and pretend that wasn't just me stumbling over my words. So yeah, if you're LGBTQI+, or if you're just an ally, happy Pride Month. I hope you're all doing well, and I always say "and" at the end of things, as if I have more to add. No, that was the end of the sentence, that was a full stop. Happy Pride Month, I love you all. Starting the game, you'll be given some basic backstory about your girl being on her journey, and then you're given control of your airship. Within a few minutes you wind up in some fog, and despite the fact that this fog does seem to do very little to obscure your visibility, and you can probably get through it just by slowing down, or maybe just backtrack and go around it. But apparently Yukumo didn't consider any of this. We wind up crashing and totaling our airship. We come to in a mysterious town which used to be home to a bunch of cat people, but most of them have fled with the encroaching fog. Can't really blame them though. Who wants to go outside and see the world is wildly gloomy? You know, I'd like to live in a really foggy place. Keep me hidden from other people. I don't like people very much. I've just realised that in today's script I forgot to add the usual bit where I beg for money and tell you about my shop, so I'm just going to cut and paste the one from my Sword Art Online review last week. Yeah, that's why it's identical. Sorry. If you like my content, be sure to like this video, leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. If you want to support the channel, you can pledge £1 a month to my Patreon page, see the link in the description. This will net you a 24-hour early access to new review videos, shout-outs at the end of other videos, and you'll get to suggest games for me to cover. Or if you like, you can visit my T-Bill shop. I spent a week working on a new shirt design. It should be up there by now, so be sure to check it out. Both links are in the description of this video, along with the Sword Art Online abridged links. I really shouldn't have put that in the video where I put it, because I've now split up the two parts of what I was talking about unnecessarily. I'm very sorry about that as well. This was not a well-planned video. We're told that spirit trees can protect the town if they can be reactivated, which serves as the reason why we have to enter shrines in the first place and complete their video game challenges.
Video game challenges? It's a fucking video game. What do you expect?
For you to be useful. And what I mean when I say video game challenges is that these challenge rooms are almost entirely cliché. One or two of the rooms has a unique layout, but even then, their puzzles are not only ones we've seen before in other places, they're not even presented in a way that makes them look interesting or special. Get to the end of these basic puzzles and you can light a torch, which allows you to access the tree room inside this shrine, which has just got another collectible in it, and when you grab that, the tree seems to come back to life. By the way, these collectibles are called the Source of the Earth, by the way, but that name is kind of long and boring, so I'm just going to call them lamps from this point forward. As I was saying, pick up the lamp in the room, the tree comes back to life, and some of the level outside is unlocked. If you want to unlock the rest of the town, you'll have to find a second shrine in the level. Once you've cleared that, the rest of the fog is lifted from this area, and you're basically given free reign to explore. When I say free reign, you don't go everywhere just yet, but we'll get to that. The main gameplay loop then is collecting these lamps in order to make it possible to collect more of these lamps. It's not a thrilling experience, yet not entirely a mundane one either. See, the game was easy to play. The maps looked rather nice, though there was a lot of pop-in, but we'll touch on that later. They were big enough for exploring to be on some level engaging, but not so big that you get lost in them. And even if you do get lost, you can just sort of jump into the water and you'll spawn back at the starting point, so it's really not a big deal. The first shrine of each map awards the player an additional power. The first one lets you do a ground pound, the second one lets you an air dash, and the third one lets you do a double jump, which is all rather neat.
I'm sensing a big old butt coming.
But
Nailed it.
Wow, you sure have a talent for spotting big butts.
I like big butts in a cat I'd lie.
Nothing like a musical reference from 1992.
Oh god, I feel old.
Look the way you feel, that's what I always say.
But these powers feel really bad to use. The ground pound basically just teleports you a few feet down in a way that feels really stiff. The air dash covers barely any distance, and your double jump height makes you look like you jump maybe an additional couple of feet at a time.
If that's all the game needs though, shouldn't it be alright?
I mean, yeah, that's a fair point. It might not look it, but with these powers you have everything you need to reach most of the lamps in a level. It's more just figuring out exactly how the game intends you to get to them. And later on, once you've repaired your airship, you can fly around the skies of the levels, accessing new areas, and, well, not really accessing new areas, it's basically just reaching new lamps. You can't get off your airship wherever you please, like only in the one spot on the map can you dismount. But there's a lot of stuff you can do, like collect the same things that you were collecting on the ground, just in the sky. But you can also do a fly through rings challenge. Well, not rings, it's actually little blue circles that you fly through, but it's still... well, it's not really inspired, is it? It's just the same sort of challenge you'd find in any game that might have flying mechanics. It's hardly unique or interesting, and I can't really point to anything in this game and say this is what makes it unique this time around. It doesn't even appear to be timed because I just went through barely rushing and I completed all of these challenges when I found them. It's not really hard. I'll be honest though, the airship bits aren't actually bad. At the very end of the game you get some fireworks and you can blow up these evil lamps in the sky with your airship, which was it was bordering on fun, I'd say. But when it's done, you have one last conversation with your cat friend and then you're done. That's the end of the game. Yep, that was actually a title card that read "The End" in probably what was the most basic font you could have picked. It's the same font I think that they used in all the menus, and this is the look of the menus in this game, by the way. It's not interesting, it's just so bland. I forgot to mention this in the script, but on the subject of menus, the menus in this game are not only really basic looking, but you can't even press circle to just quickly go back or quickly close the menu, you have to navigate to the option. Now, is this extremely nitpicky? Yes. Am I extremely petty for bringing this up at all because it really doesn't matter? Absolutely. But is the fact that it's such a small problem making me feel like maybe they should have just dealt with it? I mean, the quality of life improvement that just pressing one button is to navigating to an option to press button? That was not... like, this is what happens when I don't script these bits. I just say random bullshit. Yeah, the point I was making was, like, that just being able to press the circle button to quickly go back would have been easier, and it would have been nicer if it's there. Not a big deal. That's probably why I didn't put it in the script, actually. But anyway, the game's over. I mean, that's fine, though. The game is done now. No more looking for lanterns. No more exploring streets that have models which have a surprisingly little amount of detail in contrast to our protagonist, whose outfit is rather complex and interesting. No more dealing with the constant pop-in from random models and objects that are more than 50 feet away. No more destroying people's trash and picking up their weeds to get random lanterns. No more of our complete non-character of a protagonist to deal with. Yukumo isn't really a character. She has no sense of agency or morals, or doesn't even speak actually. She never blinks either. It's really weird. Her facial expression is just this one facial expression. I've never seen her change it. She might as well be an actual porcelain doll. Now, having a character that acts merely as a conduit, a means through which the player interacts with your video game, is not an inherently bad way to design games. In fact, sometimes being a voiceless nobody is perfect for the narrative the game is trying to weave. Tasomachi isn't a massively story-heavy game. It has one as a means to contextualize the things that we are doing, and that's all it really needs to do. The real issue here is with the gameplay being so basic, the story could have been something that held it up. The story could have actually been something that we came to the game for, but it didn't because it was just a very basic context for what we're doing. It's not really a plot, it's lacking in any characters. These cat dudes, they really aren't characters, they're basically just props. Props. They're basically props. That's another mistake that I'm just gonna leave in the video. Our main one, our little cat friend here, has a bit of a personality. I'm sorry for the joke and the lie, he really doesn't. He just tells us what we need to do, then we do it. One thing I will praise now is that I really like the music for most of the game. Overall, the music is quite nice. There's maybe one shrine where I don't really care for the background music in it, I just don't think it fits very well, but other than that, the music is really pretty. I also think the game has something of a meditative quality about it. Meditative quality to it. Note to self, stop putting words in your scripts that you struggle to read because it's just getting silly. Being really easy to complete the game's tasks not only makes the game really accessible, which is a good thing on its own, it also means that you can kind of just switch your brain off and play for a bit. In a way, without the distraction of a proper story or complicated mechanics that take too long to get used to, we can just enjoy getting around a town finding the collectibles. Tasomachi isn't a bad game. It's not a very good game, but it isn't a bad game. There is nothing in here that ruins the experience or renders it unplayable, but there just isn't anything in here that really makes the game stand out. It's not an amazingly engaging experience, but there is nothing wrong with this game. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the game. It's a competently made game for the most part. The ground pound skill could have a bit of an issue if you used it too close to certain objects, but other than that, it's fine. At most, it was a bit troublesome to deal with. It wasn't a problem. Like, a big problem anyway. Games like this are the absolute worst to write reviews for. When a game is good or bad, it's a lot easier to point to it and say why it's good or bad. You can praise the hell out of a good game or just crucify a really bad game, but games like this that are sort of right in the middle, there's not really anything clever or witty or funny I can say about it. Tasomachi is the dictionary definition of mediocre. It's short, but as long as it needs to be. It's got accessible gameplay, but at the expense of being particularly engaging or challenging. It's not got much of a narrative to speak of, but it's also, well, there's just nothing about the game that makes it bad or boring to play. So at the end, we have a game that exists. Tasomachi is a game that exists. That's my final thought on the game. I mean, I like the idea of the game. The idea is cool. You have to repair your airship and go around town looking for the parts. I even sort of envisioned that in my head when I first bought the game. I read the description and thought, oh, okay, and then my imagination just sort of went off on one there. Basically, I sort of pictured us walking around a town after our airship crashed in it and finding actual, pieces of the airship or new parts to replace bits of broken airship with. There'd be characters who would offer to help us mend the thing because we don't know how to mend all of it ourselves, so we have to go out and find characters to do it for us, and they'll do it in exchange for money or for doing a quest for them or something like that. But that's enough of that random bullshit. So yeah, Tasomachi, it's not a bad game. It's just kind of there really. So yeah, another week, another end section where I don't really know what to fill it with.
Oh good. That means you can stop talking and we can all be spared. I know. Oh, that's longer than I thought it was. Wait, you're not rambling in a code? Fuck that. Yeah, because that makes a difference.
Oh, right, because you're in a position to judge. Fuck. Oh, right, because you're in a position to judge whether or not someone has anything worth saying or doing. God damn it, guy!
Why is that the funny bit?